Welcome to the Energetics Astrology overview for the Taurus solar season. This is Shelley, and I'd like to thank you for being here. The Sun ingresses into the sign of the Bull on April 19th, 2021, and will be transiting the sign until May 20th. This is based on the tropical Western zodiac, which is the one most commonly used in Western astrology. As we did with Aries, this video will cover the basic energetics of the sign of Taurus, along with some of its correlations, body, mind, and soul. Then we will take a brief look at the transits or themes for this Taurus solar period, followed by some suggestions on how you can work with the planetary energies in respective signs now or whenever their influence is active in your life. If Taurus is your sun, moon, or rising sign, or if you have a lot of planets in the second house, or if Venus, the ruler of Taurus, is a prominent player in your natal chart, then much of what we cover in this video around the sun in Taurus can be applied throughout the entire year. Even if you don't have a strong natal Taurus signature, we all do have this sign somewhere in our chart, as well as the planet Venus. So it's good to be aware that due to transits and progressions, most of us will get to personally experience the energetics of each sign and planet at different points throughout our life. So, let's look at the second sign of the natural zodiac, peace and calm loving Taurus. Taurus is represented by the second of three horned animals in the zodiac, the bull, all sharing some similar characteristics such as tenacity, the will to manifest, and the ability to get the job done. These three signs are said to hold the secrets of the horn of strife and the horn of plenty. While all three signs also possess the quality of stubbornness, Taurus is typically considered the most stubborn of all, perhaps because it operates under the fixed modality, which gives it a lot of staying power that is necessary for the earthly stability this sign seeks. Though Taurus is represented by a bull, which is a male cow, it is a yin earth sign. Its energy is primarily receptive, reactive, down and inwards moving, and correlates with the physical world of matter. It is one of two signs ruled by the planet Venus, who is associated with love, peace, pleasure, and beauty. The other Venus-ruled sign is Libra. In the sign of Taurus, the Venusian energies are focused on subjective, material matters, whereas in Libra, Venus deals more with objective relationship themes. Taurus governs over the five senses, with the emphasis on the sense of smell. This sign has a lot to do with our instinctive animal nature and the ability to not only survive, but to thrive as an embodied soul on the earth plane. Its qualities are cold, dry, and enduring, which is reflected in its accumulating and stabilizing nature. This sign is at its best when it can just be. So let's look at some of the Taurus associations beginning with the body. While generally associated with the neck and throat, it also governs the vocal cords, the nape of the neck, the mouth, lower part of the jaw, taste buds, thyroid gland, medulla oblongata, middle ear, and all of the storage systems of the body. Here are some of the psychological or mental states attributed to Taurus. And again, this is listed in cookbook astrology fashion, keeping in mind that higher and lower vibrations fall on a spectrum. And this is just to give you an idea of the Taurian nature. Also, sometimes the higher vibrations are referred to as the light expression of the sign, whereas the lower vibrations would be the shadow aspects of the sign. So the higher vibrations for Taurus. Peacefulness, artistic ability and artistic sensibilities, fertility, patience, abundance, stability, sustainability, pleasure, persistence, worthiness, self-reliance, steadiness, loyalty, and groundedness. Where some of the more lower vibrations would be related to stubbornness, stagnation, immovability, isolation, hoarding, stinginess, bullishness, materialism, possessiveness, unworthiness, greed, survival mode, suppressed emotions, and a poverty consciousness. So in the center are some mantras or declarations that are really suited well to the Taurian energy. You are your greatest resource. The universe is generous and abundant. It is possible to have too much of a good thing. So from a soul perspective, each sign has a purpose or function it is learning and working on mastering, meaning that it's going to attract experiences throughout life dealing with these themes. For the Taurus archetype, these are some of the themes that satisfy the soul's intention: to solidify form, autonomy, self-sufficiency, self-containment, sensuality, to generate stability, personal values, survival nature, material accumulation, and bringing spirit into form. So now let's take a brief look at some of the astrology for the Taurus solar cycle. While the sun is transiting through this sign, there will be a full moon in Scorpio on April 26th and a new moon in Taurus on May 11th. And because Taurus is associated with the land and gardening, our yards, I wanted to mention, since we're in the spring in the northern hemisphere, that if you're planting seeds right now, good time to plant the vegetables that, or the food that grows below the ground, are on full moons. And the best time to plant the food that grows above ground is during a new moon. So like all your root vegetables, full moon, all your fruiting vegetables that fruit above the ground, your peppers, tomatoes, etc., new moon. We also have some planets changing signs this solar cycle. And whenever a planet changes signs, there's usually a noticeable shift in the overall energy. So Mercury actually moves into Taurus the same day the sun does, and Mercury rules communications, and in Taurus, mental processes will probably slow down for most of us to varying degrees, and we'll pick back up again on May 3rd when it moves into its home sign of Gemini. Venus moved into Taurus, its home sign, on April 14th, where it is very comfortable with its expression. Planets typically like being in their home signs. So on May 18th, Venus is then going to move into the sign of Gemini, where its functions will become more mentally stimulated. Mars has been in Gemini since March 3rd, and we did take a look at that in the Aries solar cycle video. On April 23rd, when Mars moves into the sign of Cancer, its fiery, action-oriented nature will probably get watered down and pulled into the realm of emotions. And on May 13th, Jupiter is going to dip into the sign of Pisces until July 28th, until it retrogrades back into Aquarius, where it will remain until the end of December. Jupiter typically takes about a year to transit each sign, And with this little sojourn into Pisces this year, you will get a little taste of what Jupiter has in store for you in the next year. So now for the Taurus Sun transits during this cycle. The Taurus Sun makes 4 exact aspects. The first one is a conjunction to Uranus, who is slowly moving through the sign of Taurus until April 2026. Uranus is often referred to as the Great Awakener or Disruptor, as the sign of Taurus is associated with land, money, and resources. So it's no wonder climate change, the economy, and natural resources have been and will continue to be at the forefront of our awareness during this time. Uranus is also associated with liberation, freedom, autonomy, and rebellion. And the sign it rules, Aquarius, deals with like social groups and humanity. So when the Sun makes a conjunction on April 30th this year, on or around that time, well, you can expect the unexpected, but it's quite possible that something around the Uranian themes will be highlighted, especially given that Venus and Mercury are also going to be in the sign of Taurus that day. So Uranus will also be making a quincunx to the South Node in Sagittarius, so we could get some collective and personal unexpected surprises that relate to something from the past that's looking to be liberated. So on May 3rd, the Sun makes a square to Saturn in Aquarius, and this can definitely bring in some tension, challenges, or tests around responsibility and restriction. May 13th, the Sun sextiles Neptune in Pisces, stimulating the imagination and perhaps offering a vision worth working towards. And finally, May 17th, the Sun trines Pluto in Capricorn, which could bring in some opportunity for some kind of deep personal transformation. As Venus rules Taurus, we'll look at these transits next. Venus makes 5 exact aspects during this cycle and 1 sign change. Well, Venus is in the home sign of Taurus. It makes conjunction to Uranus, followed up a few days later with a conjunction to Mercury. Well, Venus in Taurus is much more interested in being rather than getting wrapped up in the chattering of the mind. This period in April could bring some quick or unexpected mental insights or news relating to the Taurian themes. On May 2nd, Venus makes a nice sextile to Neptune in Pisces, offering the possibility of increased sensitivity and heightened intuition. Then 4 days later, a trine to Pluto in Capricorn. This transit supports the opportunity for deeply transformative passion. On the 8th, Venus changes signs, moving into Gemini, where there are no exact aspects until May 19th, when Venus in Gemini trines Saturn in Aquarius. This aspect is good for social engagements, long-term investments or commitments, relationship breakthroughs, and electrifying communications. Mercury is particularly busy and on the move during this Taurus solar cycle, changing signs twice and making 8 exact aspects. While Mercury transits through the sign of Taurus, common sense and practical planning can help you make progress towards tangible goals. It's a great time to cultivate ideas and thoughts grounded in reality. While I'm not going to speak to each aspect here, I will say that April 25th is a particularly busy day for Mercury in Taurus, as it first squares Saturn in Aquarius, then moves into a square with Jupiter in Aquarius, followed by a conjunction to Venus in Taurus. The peace may be disturbed through some creative tension or a sense of anxiety around what wants to endure versus what wants to be liberated. And that can lead to some logical, creative solutions. On May 3rd, after Mercury moves into its home sign of Gemini, where mental faculties pick up speed, it makes a square to Jupiter in Aquarius, which can be a little over mentally stimulating. And it's definitely a good day to watch the words that might want to fly out of your mouth. Mars was very engaged in the action packed Aries sun cycle, and now it cools down a lot during Taurus season. During this time, Mars changes signs and hangs out in Cancer, making just one aspect a sextile to Uranus and Taurus. As there is not a lot of engagement with the planet of action and drive, and its functions get watered down quite a bit in the sign of Cancer, this Taurus solar season is really encouraging us to do less and be more. So that covers it for the transits that I wanted to discuss during the sun cycle. And now I'll offer you some possibilities for working with the sun in Taurus and its ruling planet Venus's energies throughout this period or whenever it suits your needs. So we'll begin with the sun. The Taurus archetype is illuminated for everyone as the sun moves through the sign. Taurus deals with self-sufficiency and self-reliance as ways to create tangible stability and security. Personal finances, material possessions, and the value of things fall under the rulership of this sign, as does what we find pleasurable and comfortable. Taurus correlates with the senses and loves good food and beautiful surroundings. As stated earlier, our instincts in the natural world are governed by the bull, which is one reason the sense of smell is emphasized. And my dog is responding to this. So, she's an animal, so I think it's good for her to be in this video a little bit. So I guess she likes this part. So, yeah, the sense of smell is emphasized. That's because the nose knows. So, think about pheromones and foraging for food in the wilderness. Taurus is a sensual, physical sign. Thus, it is also associated with the need to get in touch with the body and our sexuality. It also correlates with nature and the management of natural resources. This sign moves at a slow and steady pace and needs the art of simplicity as well as regular doses of peace and quiet to endure. Perhaps one of the best ways to meet the Taurus energy is to be in the moment. Whatever you're doing, whether at work, rest, or play, Taurus can help us connect to all of our senses and truly enjoy the beauty and pleasure of what it is to be a human in physical form on this glorious planet Earth. To calm the energy. So Taurus is not a fan of change and it really likes its comfort zone. It can get weighed down by too much of a good thing. There can be a tendency towards overaccumulation. Overindulgence in rich or sweet foods can be an example of too much Taurus energy, and this can clog up the body with toxins. Hoarding things, excess stubbornness, weight gain, a congested colon, slow thyroid function, or too much downtime are some things that might indicate you are running heavy on the Taurus energy and could benefit from lightening up a bit. Well, there are many things you could do to calm excess Taurus energy. One of the best ways is to spend time walking in nature. The great outdoors is loaded with negative ions that have been scientifically proven to have positive effects on our moods and physical body. They promote antimicrobial activity and activate cognitive functions. Plus, when your skin is exposed to sunlight, your body will naturally produce vitamin D, which is needed to keep your muscles, bones, and teeth healthy. So to boost the energy, As Taurus is primarily a stable, peace-loving sign, if you're feeling combative or like you're a bull seeing red, this could indicate a reactionary response that your Taurian energy is not getting satisfied. Being stuck in survival mode, struggling with basic needs, having troubles expressing yourself, weak neck muscles, throat problems, or sensory afflictions may be related to not enough Taurus. Likewise, if you're not getting enough quiet restorative time or feeling disconnected from nature and your own instinctual nature, you may benefit from boosting this energy. Well, being in nature and in the present moment calms the Taurus energy. It also meets the energy and boosts it. However, there are other things you can do to get a little more bull into your life, and one of the best things is to open up the throat using neck or vocal exercises. Imbalances or blockages of this energy can often be linked to the neck and throat area of the body. And if you're having issues, like physical issues with your neck, like your cervical vertebrae or anything like that, make sure you do research and don't do exercises that are going to exacerbate the situation. Generally speaking, isometric exercises for the neck are wonderful. Even gentle tapping of the neck can help open up the energy and get things moving. Simple sounding exercises also help create more space in the throat area. And one simple way to do this is by humming. So if you want to really help open that up, it's very, very cool to like close your eyes and plug your ears and hum and find the sound that vibrates in your throat. You can actually feel it opening up when you do that. So chanting is another way to move that energy. So once you get your throat area opened, making choices becomes much easier, as does speaking your truth. So now let's look at Venus in Taurus, where it begins this solar cycle. Transiting Venus in its home sign of Taurus can support the Venusian and Taurian vital functions, especially through a sense of peace and well-being. In its Taurus expression, Venus seeks creature comforts in the material world and doesn't mind doing what needs to be done to make that happen, so long as it's not rushed, overly complicated, or feeling pressured. It values self-care and doing things in its own loving way. Venus in Taurus is built for the long haul and doesn't mind rolling up its sleeves and putting in a good day's steady work, so long as there is a reward at the end that is satisfying, pleasurable, or beautiful. Venus is associated with her namesake, the goddess of love and beauty, and when in the sign of Taurus, this goddess revels in the arts and the artistry of the natural world. Refinement, elegance, grace, luxury, and indulgence all correlate with this signature. Venus also rules the sign of Libra, so balance and moderation are key. This planet knows when you let yourself just be, take in the beauty of life, and trust in the deep wisdom of your body, all is well. For this reason, a great way to meet this energy is to walk in beauty. So boosting the energy. Some potential signs that this energy might benefit from a boost includes challenges with gaining or holding on to money or weight, poor physical strength or endurance, feeling ungrounded or disconnected from the natural world, lack of appetite for food or other pleasures, or coldness in the body. If you're experiencing any of those things, self-care is indicated. So, mineral or mud baths, gardening, sitting on the earth, massage therapy, treatments that include hot rocks, soothing music, nature sounds, pleasant scents, or other things that stimulate the five senses are all great ways of self-care, as is money management training, pottery classes, or treating yourself to a physical makeover. Calming the energy. So, too much of this energy can be seen in overeating or overworking, excess dryness, brittle hair or nails, dandruff, constipation, hearing issues, insensitivity, a lack of creativity, or a chronic sense of boredom. To calm this energy, you might like to try lightening the load, which can be done through eating lighter foods, being amused, reading a good book for the fun of it, fasting or intermittent fasting, cuddling with a loved one, human or furry, sauna baths, having some pleasurable conversations, or even some flexibility exercises. So now we're looking at Venus and Gemini. So 5 days after Mercury moves into its home sign, it is joined by Venus on May 8th. The enduring staying power Venus experienced while in Taurus gets a little more complicated and a lot less straightforward when it transits through the sign of Gemini. The sign of the twins emphasizes the dual nature and changeability factor in our relationships with others and with ourselves. This is a time when both sides of the coin are up for consideration and variety is the spice of life. Gemini energy is quick, mental, and lighthearted, with a preference for gathering new information rather than sitting too long with one subject or even taking it deeper. Unless it's investigating something, in which case it will leave no stone unturned. When Venus moves through this sign, it can bring positive changes or news in the areas of personal finance, worldly possessions, relationships, artistic or creative endeavors, communications, partnerships, or business negotiations. There can also be a tendency to overspend, overcompromise, or overthink. This is a great time for social engagements, flirting, and light, witty banter. Therefore, a great way to meet this energy is to step into the role of social butterfly. And if that is just way beyond you, spend time with others who do the social butterfly thing well. So, calming the energy. Well, this is generally Venus in Gemini considered a nimble energy. If this transit is making hard aspects to other planets in your chart, or the energy is just too much for your own particular comfort zone or nervous system, you may want to take some steps to calm the energy. Some indications that you may be getting blown away by the Gemini, that your Venus is getting blown away by the Gemini, could be experiences hyperactivity, hypersensitivity, or feeling scattered. So, with the Sun in Taurus, a good way to quiet an excess of this energy is to soak in a mineral bath. If you live by some mineral hot springs or can take a quick trip, that's even better as it includes a good dose of Mother Nature. And if you don't have a tub and the hot springs are out of the question, you can make a mineral salt scrub with Dead Sea salts or any kind of therapeutic bath salts by just mixing them in with some good quality oil like a little olive oil, almond oil, or sea buckthorn oil, and just apply that liberally all over your body. That also happens to be a good way to exfoliate the skin, and it detoxifies the body. So, to boost the energy, it's also possible that you may need to balance this energy with a boost. If you're feeling listless, slow in thought and movements, or having a hard time being amused, then you may be deficient in the Venus Gemini energy. In this case, one of the best things you can do is some pranayama, mindful breathing, or other breath exercises. Just taking in some slow, deep, conscious breaths can oxygenate the brain and the entire body. The good news is these can be done anywhere, anytime. And finally, I just want to talk a little about Jupiter moving into Pisces on May 13th. It will be there for a little over a couple months. turning retrograde in Pisces on June 20th, then making its way back into Aquarius on July 28th. It will continue to move backwards in Aquarius, revisiting some of the Jupiter Aquarius themes we have been recently experiencing, and will turn direct on October 17th, where it will remain in Aquarius until December 28th. So it's going to be going back and forth some of the same places it has been, like from now until the end of the year. So you'll get to revisit. So like for these next 2 months, pay attention to what's happening, because then you're going to get to revisit some of the Jupiter and Pisces themes that may come up for you next year. So as the largest planet in our cosmos, Jupiter is known for its ability to expand whatever it comes in contact with. Known in traditional astrology as the Great Benefic, it is associated with expansion of things that are pleasurable, that are prosperous, like it's abundant, it's good fortune, good luck. It's all optimism, all the really nice things in life, typically speaking. It's also got another side of that too. So it can expand things, anything that it touches, basically. So Pisces correlates with spirituality, visions, dreams, psychic faculties, compassion, cosmic unity, transcendence, and divine consciousness. So Jupiter is going to be in Pisces, expanding Piscean themes. So we can all use a little bit more of that. But we have to keep in mind that the other side of Pisces is associated with escapist tendencies, confinement, bondage, delusion, boundary issues, addiction. So just keep in mind, as Jupiter's transiting through Pisces, it's going to make things bigger, whatever it touches. And it does that just to help us grow into greater, more expansive versions of our unified selves. So overall, Jupiter in Pisces it can be a great transit for divine inspiration, optimistic idealism, and heightened imagination. So pay attention to any of these things that I mentioned showing up over the next few months, because you're likely going to revisit them next year. So a great way to meet this energy is to connect with the divine and let that energy fuel your imagination and your ecstasy, calming the energy. So over excess, overindulgence, overdoing, making anything bigger is an indication that you might be oversaturated with this energy, and calming it down can help restore balance. You can actually reap the huge benefits of Jupiter and Pisces. This transit can give rise to an overly optimistic, rose-colored glasses point of view that can feed into romanticized idealism or grandiosity, self-righteousness, dogma, self-indulgence, too much magical thinking, or living in fantasy land, or even laziness are some ways that this can indicate like excess Jupiter and Pisces energy. As can an overactive immune system or foot troubles. Well, there are many ways to calm this energy. One of the ways that I have found works best for me, because I've experienced this before, is establishing like new daily health routine. Either like taking the one that I'm doing or not doing and making it better, or bringing in something new entirely. So, I mean, this really can be anything from changing up your diet to getting to bed earlier, adding a new exercise, meditating, or trying a different kind of meditation. So, if you're going to engage in making the things bigger or experiencing more bigger, expansive energy, it's better if it benefits your body in some way. So you might also need to boost this energy. So if you find that you're lacking self-confidence, creative inspiration, feeling disconnected, enslaved, addicted, or having boundary issues, these could be some indications, as could depression, fatigue, malaise, weakness, weight gain for no apparent reason, or low blood pressure. So there would be many ways that you could boost the energy. And the things that I mentioned all indicate you may want to think about increasing your protein, iron, and mineral levels. But a really great and simple way to boost this energy is to engage in some play therapy. So you can do this on your own. However, it's typically more play filled and expansive when you do it with support of others, such as a trusted friend or friends or a therapist. So if you're experiencing those things, get yourself in a sandbox, break out the finger paints, blow bubbles, play ball, board games or percussion instruments, dance, sing, draw, paint, scream, laugh, cry. Above all, let that wild child come out and play. Now, I do have to say, if you are suffering with a serious addiction or mental health problem, please, please, please get professional help immediately. Life is too short and too beautiful to be suffering. So this brings me to a close for today's offering. I hope you got some good tips for generating greater well-being for yourself during the Taurus solar cycle and beyond. If you have any questions or you're interested in a reading, please feel free to reach out to me at astroenergeticsinfo@gmail.com, or you can find me at my website, astroenergetics.net. And if you like this video, please share it with your friends, and don't forget to hit the like or subscribe buttons below, and take good care of yourself if you want to. And thank you so much for listening.